Hello, I'm China Green alongside Thomas Shults, and we figured with the teacher strike happening, a lot of you probably have questions, whether you're a student, a parent, or maybe you're just curious of what's going on here. Thomas, you have been following the education beat for a while now, so let's start off with what is the teacher strike? Why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, this has been something that has been going on for a while leading up to this. For months they've been negotiating. They've actually been in bargaining sessions, Portland Association of Teachers, that's the teachers union, with Portland Public Schools as well since January. So it's been going on a long time. Now, the big things that are the sticking points at this point are wage compensation. Teachers are wanting a wage hike of around 19% over the next 3 years. That's cumulatively based. And the school district is offering around 11% in the wage hike. The other things right now are also making those classroom sizes smaller. That's a big one among teachers. There's also some issues over how hot or cool those classrooms get and just more resources for their students as a whole.
And when it comes to the size of the classroom, why does that matter?
Well, the teachers are saying, look, more students, we don't have as much time to spend one-on-one with those students either. So with more students, there's not as great of an educational experience for that individualized student from the teacher's perspective. So the smaller the classroom, the more time they're able to spend per student.
And we've already seen them, the teachers, those supporting the teachers on the picket lines. You were in the thick of that this morning, all morning long. So what are the impacts of this strike?
Well, the first and foremost is, of course, that schools are just closed, and that's district-wide. All 81 schools in Portland Public Schools are closed for the foreseeable future until this strike is over. Now, there are some things that the school district is going to continue to have available. Breakfast and lunch for students in need, or that is available, as well as some health services at high schools around the area. There are some temporary relocations as well of some food pantries from some high schools to other areas in Portland Public Schools. And sports are a big one for many families. Middle school, university sports practices, games canceled. Varsity sports will continue to practice and have games. But of course, the big thing for these students and these families is they're just out of class for the foreseeable future.
Right. And I spoke to a parent who they're trying to figure out what to do with these kids. You know, some people don't have the luxury of bringing them to work, or they can't afford to do childcare. So you've talked to some parents here. What are they saying that they're doing? Yeah,
it's really, as you know, China, an individualized thing per family. Some families, they've got older kids and they're saying, all right, well, you can stay home. They're fine. Others are looking for daycare options, and we're seeing a bunch of different options. There was one company we spoke with who's actually offering childcare services for members of that company. There are also daycare centers popping up. There's a story that we're working on as well that Ashley Graham's working on today about a woman who has daycare centers, and she's added around 100 families today just to that center that would generally be in Portland Public Schools. So everybody's kind of scrambling to find a solution. That's really their alternative right now, and there's different avenues they're going to approach that.
And then, yeah, let's stay on the parents here. What's the temperature when it comes to speaking with the parents? Are they for it, or is this creating just chaos in their lives and they're against it?
Yeah, as you can imagine, there's a bit of both, right? There are the parents that are with the school district. They're saying, you know what, we want these kids back in the classroom. We want our teachers to have what they need, and they want them supported in every way that's possible. In their opinion, reasonably. They say, well, the school district's saying we don't have the resources. So if they're saying that, then they don't have the resources. Now, there are other parents who are saying, we don't really believe that. We think that they do. They just don't want to give it to the teachers. Those parents that we've spoken with are out on the picket lines. They're out supporting their teachers. They've brought the kids with them. So you're seeing a mixed reaction from the parents' perspective on that. And again, it just kind of goes back to per family and what they're thinking about the strike as a whole.
And then speaking of the teachers, we saw you out there this morning and at noon doing live shots with the teachers on the picket lines. There was a lot of them. I'm sure you spoke to them. What did they have to say this morning? Yeah,
it's really the same thing from teachers' perspective. And we asked them about wage compensation. That's not the issue that they're bringing up. It's more so those support for those students in class. I mean, it's smaller class sizes, although I will mention that right now, Portland Public Schools are the smallest class sizes they've seen in a long time, and that's because there's been an exodus since the pandemic from Portland Public Schools to other schools. So those class sizes are actually smaller now than they've been in the past, but they still want even smaller class sizes. They say right now our kids aren't getting the mental health support they need. They're not seeing the resources they need, the counselors they need, the guidance counselors. There's not enough teachers' assistants. So it's really adding all of those things for their students that they think is going to make them more productive and have better grades, and of course, at the end of the day, a better education.
And then when it comes to the district, what do they have to say about everything that's going on and happening today? And we saw emails from them coming out. They did not want this to happen.
Right.
but it did. So now what?
Yeah, I mean, they're hoping to get this resolved as soon as possible. Both sides are, of course. The thing with the district is they said already that there's not going to be school tomorrow. School was canceled today. School will be canceled tomorrow. Friday was scheduled to be an off day, so that's going to be an off day. So the end of the week, which is supposed to be the end of the quarter, is null and void at this point. Now, the district is also saying, look, we want some of these things that our educators want. We want smaller class sizes. We want more resources. The problem is we don't have the money to do it. And so that's the message they're trying to get across, not only to the public, but the teachers as a whole. And they're just saying, at the end of the day, we're able to give you something. That 11% wage hike is what they've offered right now, but not everything you want. They say it would cost hundreds of millions more in their budget.
Right. I mean, they do seem very far apart. As you said, Thursday, they're not going to school. Friday was supposed to be an off day. Is this something, do you think, talking to these teachers, that could be resolved by Monday morning? Could this be a week thing, 2-week thing, a month? What are you getting when you're out there?
Yeah, I mean, that's the concern from parents that we've spoken with, too, is that, look, parents have already said, we call this no school November because you have Thanksgiving, you have Veterans Day, you have these days, just teacher work days. They're concerned from how far off they are. Unless somebody budges, it seems like from where we're sitting in our vantage point, this could stretch on for a week to 10 days. And it really depends on how often they negotiate. We would have thought that today you'd expect to see them at the bargaining table right on that first day of a strike. That's not happening. So we'll see if that lingers. I would imagine that they'd go back to the bargaining table tomorrow. But right now, it seems like it might stretch on for a week to 10 days. And it's really who's going to budge first.
And then do the teachers get paid while they're out there on the picket lines?
So they will not get paid by the school district. And the way that their payment structure works is a little bit different than most people. A lot of people get paid bi-weekly, right? Teachers are actually getting paid monthly. So at the end of each month, they get their payment. Their health insurance is still in place for November. December, it would not be in place if the strike lasted that long. There are ways they could get paid via the union. So for example, the union right now has a GoFundMe that they're trying to raise money for support of their teachers. They're saying things like that will go to rallies, go to picket signs, just helping those community service aspects of things as well. But they could get paid that way. But as of right now, they're not getting paid. Now they could receive back pay in a further negotiation to reach a deal and actually make up that lost payment now. What we've seen other districts do, like Camas and Evergreen and Washington, at the beginning of the school year when they striked, is they said, we're just going to pay you the same, basically, because you're going to make those days up on the back end, so it's all going to work out at the end of the day. So to answer your question, no, they're not getting paid, but that could be resolved in the future, too.
And depending on how long this goes, a week, 2 weeks, is this something that's going to be made up for the students and the teachers on the back end of the school year? Yeah,
you would expect the back end of the school year is probably where this is going to go. I mean, there's some days that they could try to work into the year. You know, you have those teacher days that students wouldn't report to class, where you could potentially try to turn those into just a regular school day. But if this stretches on for quite some time, it doesn't seem like they'd have much of a choice except to add extra school days at the end of the year.
So Thomas, 81 schools closed, shut down right now. There are some things that are open. I'm sure some parents would like to know, some students would want to know what is open, what is closed right now.
Yeah, so things that are open still, for students who have breakfast and lunch via the school, they can still get those. The problem is they have to go to the school to get it, right? So if parents, it's not as accessible for them to get to the school, that's a challenge that they're going to have to face. But if those options are still open, if they're able to get there. Food pantries, which are generally located at the school, those have been relocated, some of them to North Portland areas as well. We've got more information about that on our website. Some things that are going to be closed, of course, besides the school, varsity sports will be open. Those will continue. You have your practices, your games, those will continue. Junior varsity, middle school sports will be closed. Really any extracurricular inside the school besides those varsity sports is not going to happen. At the same time, parents might be saying, well, are there online resources for my student to continue their education? There's not going to be assignments per se from the school district, but they have provided Chromebooks to students and they have online resources if they want to do that self-directed study. And continue that learning process on their own. Yeah,
I was going to ask, when the students get back, are they going to be tested to make sure that they kept up with the knowledge while they were gone?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that right now. What we do know is report cards were supposed to go out Thursday.
Right.
So those are going to be pushed back. So the whole grading period right now is a little bit thrown off. I asked a teacher today, I was like, well, how are your students' grades compared now because of these things that they say they need versus grades of students a few years ago? And he says, we don't really know because we haven't tested them. We don't have those grades and those report cards yet. So this whole strike is going to delay that process a little bit more into the future.
And when can we expect them back at the bargaining table?
We don't know that either. Right now, we expected that they would probably be back today. They weren't. I would imagine you would think that they'd be back tomorrow, but we haven't had any confirmation on that from either side. PPS has said yesterday that they were waiting to hear back from the union. I don't know if that's still the case or what's going on there, if it's the union holding out on this side, but as of yesterday, that's what Portland Public Schools said was the reason there wasn't any further bargaining.
So when it comes to the kids going to class or not going to class, how will they know if they're going to school on Monday or not?
So what the district is going to do is every day at 7 in the evening until this strike is resolved, they're going to send out an alert to parents saying, hey, there is school or there isn't school. If there isn't school, they're going to send out that alert. So it's really up to parents to continue to check your email. They might be calling you as well, but parents I've spoken with, they've gotten that confirmation via email, and it's just a quick couple of lines. Now, the school district also will post on their website today. They said pretty quickly, school is going to be canceled tomorrow. That came down probably about 45 minutes ago, and so getting ahead of that before tomorrow. And so check the school's website, and of course, check your email. That's the primary location where they will reach you.
And Thomas, is there anything else that you want to say to those watching, those just curious, parents, students, when it comes to this strike?
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot with an issue like this. You have people who are very one side or the other, and it's a lot more nuanced than that. You kind of have to dive in and see what the two sides want, the proposals that they're asking for as well, and the things that they're looking for. There's a lot of nuance there, and there's a lot of parents who do understand that, right? They say, you know what, I want my kids in school. Everybody wants the kids in school, but they do see some of the things the teachers are looking for. They may agree, they may not, but it's a nuanced issue that is, you have to really dive deep to understand it fully.
All right, Thomas, thank you. This is obviously a very big story that we'll be covering both on air and online on KGW.com, and we'll continue to update you any details as we get them.